My name is Kayleen Dirksen, and I'm the president of the Soul Care Institute. I'd like to introduce you to Jessie Vangsness, who is not yet a student, but will be joining the Soul Care Institute in 2025. And I've asked her to sit down with some of our alumni and current students and ask them what it is like to go through the Soul Care Institute and what she has to look forward to. So that's what you're about to enjoy. Soul Care Institute Reflections with Jessie Vangsness.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Soul Care Institute Reflection Series. Today, I am joined by Karen Stout. She has gone through and just graduated. She is a Texas native, and she has been part of a church community for over 40 years, 35 of those, in leadership, and has held various roles, including being an elder. She has most recently become a spiritual director and is mentoring people in her church, mentoring women and helping to teach the Bible from this perspective of spiritual formation. So let's welcome Karen Stout.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So tell me, which cohort were you a part of and the location, and what was that place like?
I was in Colorado Springs with cohort 11, and God placed me there. There were other places that I could have gone that were about the same distance. For some reason, this sounded good, just being in Colorado Springs, and it's an area I'm somewhat familiar with, where we vacationed there and been there. It's in the mountains. It's green. It has all 4 seasons, and the retreat area, when I looked at it online, had some vistas that were just stunningly beautiful. And so I thought, I'm not used to being in the mountains consistently and all those undulations, and I thought I'm gonna go somewhere that has some raw beauty as well, of a different type, and enjoy that.
I love that. I love you sharing how you went through the process of deciding between 2 of the locations, because
Yes.
you had options.
Yes.
So let's move into a conversation about your very first experience, the first retreat you came to when you met everyone. What was that like?
Well, when you walk in, there's a table to greet you, and you get your room key, and you find your room, and there's people milling around, and it's not a daunting space. It's a space of love and comfort, but I personally felt a little prickly about it. I'm coming into a space where I don't know people when I walked in, but it was a tough week. The silence and solitude was an adjustment for me. I'm a very busy person. I have a busy brain. I'm always going. And I learned a lot from that first week. What I learned the most is I was so welcome, and my soul just finally started to rest in at the end of the week. I wish it had happened earlier, but it took a bit. As they said, it took a bit. It's a place you can be vulnerable. It's a place where you feel loved. I have been told many things in my life about being busy, being intimidating, being too curious, asking too many questions, I'm intense, all the things we hear, even within a church, the things that you hear that maybe are intended to be good, but maybe you just don't take them that way. Here was a place where all of that is welcome and more. I got to a point where I decided I am with the most like-minded people I have ever been in my life. I am the most welcome, heard, and seen in my life, and I'm going to enjoy everything Jesus has to offer here and just calm down and open my hands and receive. It is a place where you can receive in feeling very, very safe.
I love that. So the first retreat is called Architecture of the Soul, and when you went through it, it was led by Kayleen and Jim Dirksen.
Yes.
So they, like you have mentioned, are just so down to earth. As you started to encounter some of the information they were sharing, maybe introducing new ideas, was anything particularly new for you, or had you already, understood some of these ideas?
There was a lot of new vocabulary for me, and I had to ask a sweet girl that picked me out and sat next to me right away, and we're dear friends now, is what belovedness was. I did not know that word, and I asked her, what does that mean? She could have made fun of me. She could have said, I can't believe you haven't heard this. It's everywhere. She said, it means your belovedness in God. You are his beloved. And she put her hand on my shoulder and she said, you belong here. Kayleen had already said that. Katie had already said that. Jim had already said that. The welcome they do when you come is just a warm blanket around you. Everything that I had that was in my chest, in my heart, and in my body that was tight just began to relax under their care. I did not know how uniquely I was made. I never realized, being a Christian all of my life, how loved I was by the Trinity, how I was danced over before I was formed, how I was loved before I was even placed in my mother's womb, and I was created uniquely. These are things nobody had ever told me. All I had known growing up, even into adult life, was I was different. Now I can appreciate the difference and know God did that on purpose. I was made to be different. I was made for the spiritual formation I went through, and the way Kayleen and Jim taught was so gentle, yet so precise, in that they wanted you to know how loved you were. You did not walk out of any event, any teaching, any chapel, any meal without feeling you were loved. And that I had no idea how important that was to me until we got further into the program. And I had missed that for so long in my life. I found something I didn't even know I need, and now I can't wait to have more people enjoy it and realize this.
It's just beautiful. That the belonging in the beloved, that having people echo that not just once, but twice.
Yes.
Times, 4 times, and many more throughout all of the retreats. Because we need to be reminded, right?
Yes. Yes, in word and deed.
Okay, so in that retreat, Architecture of the Soul, there's these themes of doorway, table, and threshold. Did one of those in particular resonate with you in terms of your journey through soul care?
The table was for everybody, and we are all mirror images of God and image bearers. That gave me a wonderful sense of nothing is about me. It's about everybody included in Christian community, and every single person walking this earth is an image bearer. And to be able to see the beauty in that just puts a joy and a love in your heart and a deep sense of empathy and a feeling of wanting justice and fairness for others that I didn't have before. Before, I could pull back a little bit from someone, and now I lean in. The other was a threshold, and the threshold was my door and threshold that I walked through in discovering I had woundedness and things going on in me that I didn't even know were holding me back. They were revealed slowly, they were revealed clearly, and they were revealed by Jesus himself through what I went through in the Institute. And during this soul architecture, even though this subject comes up a lot, it came up within the first couple days there that I have had a revelation of where I have not been and needed to be, and why God chose this timing now, I don't know. I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for what all I've learned, the way they teach it, the careful planning that goes into every detail, including the music and the prayers and the lectios, is all built around helping us to cross these areas and have these experiences and let Jesus bring to light through this what we need to learn.
I love that imagery of the table and the threshold and the doorway. I think a common question that people ask when they consider the Soul Care Institute is, can they do just one of the 6 retreats and not do the others? But it sounds to me like, for instance, this Architecture of the Soul was like essential as like a starting place, and then they went on from there. Do you want to say more about how they progress?
It was imperative for me, and I'm just going to assume if it was imperative to me, this is imperative for everybody. It is not by chance how they arrange these programmings and the order that they're in. At graduation, you sit there and you think, this is amazing how this all worked. The organization that went in and the love and the internationally known speakers they bring in, it's all planned in a specific way. But having that base foundation of my belovedness in Christ and how I was made, why I was made, and understanding everybody has a purpose and is a mirror image was so foundational for me. This was the hardest, thickest foundation I've ever stood on. And I would not have gotten that had I not had that first week of knowing the architecture of my soul.
So I'm curious how you experienced community. You said a little bit about just the welcome of kind of coming in at the beginning and then over time. But can you say more about the cohort community and maybe your listening group, or what it was like to eat meals together or to just be with one another?
Yes, a community is just, like I said, of like-minded people, and I hadn't been in groups like that before. I'll turn 60 years old in a couple weeks, and I have just found what true, wonderful Christian community of learning together. We worship together, and I've known that in church, but to have so many like-minded people yearning for Christ's love, and many of us coming from a place of woundedness, coming from a place of longing and desires that we didn't even know we had, and discovering them together was beauty. It was like a walk in the forest, refreshing. It was beautiful, and there are many discoveries made, not only of myself, but discoveries made through others' discoveries and them sharing. The sharing was amazing, the vulnerability. To be able to share in a safe place and know that you're safe brings out things in other people where you can share at a level that hasn't happened before with me in a group environment. I also appreciated at dinner, everybody tried to mix it up a little bit. We all sat at different tables with different people, and the leadership made a point to get to know us very well. The way they organized things to where we learned so much about each other's lives and our backgrounds and where we wanted to go, that it felt like a brother and sisterhood. And I do consider these people my family now. We worshiped together, we cried together, we prayed together. Everything was a sense of community there. Nothing felt set aside. Everything was on a level of togetherness. And I'm a pretty independent person, so for me to come into that and look forward to it and just relish it was amazing. I was a little worried about my listening group at first. There was a lot of independent, intelligent women all together, 5 of us together. Every one of them is an extremely unique person in their own right, and yet we bonded very well together. I appreciate every one of their personalities and their love of Jesus, and what they have brought to me personally has changed me on a level I will never ever forget. And I will always remember the love that they gave me. There was one woman that was a little bit of our den mother, and she had been through a lot in her life, and she protected us. She always made sure we felt safe, and she shared a lot of wisdom on a level that I had never had, even from a pastoral way. It was just so rich and endearing, and I miss them already. We're a month out, and I miss them terribly already.
I love it. So do you guys have plans to continue meeting?
We do. We all almost said it the first time, how are we going to continue this? So we're going to continue our group. We're going to continue sharing and loving on each other and taking care of each other. And the way our hearts meld together, we have a plan where we will meet consistently and be able to keep the sharing and the love going and be involved in each other's lives.
That's so good to hear. You want to know that there'll be a way to continue those relationships. That's great. And I've heard the same from many others that has just continued.
I have not had friendships like these before, and I never knew how deep a friendship and how much love there could be within such a diverse group of people. And it's beautiful to think that must be how heaven is everybody's different, everybody's so uniquely made, and yet there's one heart together.
So nice. So I am curious if prior to coming to the Institute, if you had any experience with going on a retreat, this type of retreat.
I've been on some Christian retreats before, co-ed and just women as well, and they have all been good, but I have not ever come away feeling transformed. I have felt encouraged. I felt like I had a little bit of a cheerleading session and went out and it was energizing, but I have not had such a deep, personal, complete transformation as I have in this program. That's what it's designed to be, and they certainly succeeded at it. Whatever God is doing, it's so much bigger than I could ever explain on what a Christian retreat is. This was unlike any retreat or educational experience I've had anywhere else.
One of the most challenging things for you was starting out with that silence and solitude time. So personally, just slowing down and unplugging. Do you have any advice for people as you think about your experience with the silence and solitude and taking those afternoons?
I think prepare your heart and your family before and where you work that this is your time and it's important. God has given you this space and you want to take advantage of it. I went into this as a busy brain person, type A, AA+ person who always likes to do things for others, thinking, how am I going to be quiet for 4 hours? And the first few days were a little difficult. It was challenging. And as I prayed more and more and spent that time positively with Jesus, walking, talking, hot tea, naps, just giving all that time to Jesus, the anxiety about being alone, not being at work, not having my cell phone, not answering emails, dropped away. And then that time became very precious and 4 hours went by much quicker than I thought it ever would. It took a few days, but it was increasingly better. And by the second retreat, I couldn't wait for that time to start. It was truly beautiful.
So the whole experience from start to finish over 2 years was transformative, it sounds like. Who would you say you were before the Soul Care Institute, and who would you say you are now?
I thought I had it all figured out before. I've been a Christian a long time. I've worked hard. I've taught Bible studies. I've dug deep into the Bible. I've done everything I was supposed to do in church. I have served. I've missioned. I've done everything from a Christian standpoint we're supposed to do. I had not done much inner work. I had a lot of knowledge and some heart, but I had no idea how that knowledge could be taken and sink into your soul at a level that I don't know Jesus. I am in love with Jesus, and he loves me dearly. I don't just read about him, I experience him. I have God's presence with me all the time. I see God everywhere. I would have to say I had a fairly limited scope as a Christian, and in some ways I've struggled with that, breaking my heart of what I could have done earlier, but knowing this is in God's timing. There's no barriers to being 59, 60 years old when you do this. There's no barriers to age in this program. God does what he does in his timing. And I'm so excited to take this new experience out into the world, into my family, into my church, to whoever God will allow me to share this with, that I don't just know Jesus. I am the hands and feet of Jesus on earth, and I want to wrap people up and make them feel loved.
Yeah, I hear that. Just that breath of freedom and just falling in love with Jesus.
Yes, it made my chest relax just to be able to say that now and to truly know it. Here, not just here.
Right. And I believe you. It's so believable that's been the transformation. So thank you for sharing that. I love words and phrases. So if you were to think about an invitation that the Soul Care Institute is, what are people being invited into?
It's hard because at my age, it's hard to think I'm just now getting this after all the work I've put in. Just come, receive, and find out who you truly are. Find out who you are, your true self is, and love that true self in the way Jesus does, you will be unstoppable in any of your ministry or anything you do in life. Once you can truly grasp your true self and love the true self as you were created to be.
Awesome. If you were thinking about somebody that you care about, that you would want to consider to go to the Soul Care Institute and join a cohort, what would you want to say to them?
I can't imagine anybody that I was close to or met or knew a little bit about me wouldn't see a change in me. It's just that obvious. I've already had people say, I want what you have. I want what you learned. I would say to them, invest in your soul. It's the best investment you will ever make. Take this time for yourself and learn why Jesus truly got on that cross for us. Understand that at a level you never have before.
Just as I think about anticipating my experience through the Soul Care Institute and hearing what you've shared and how, like, we all think we know it all until we know different, right? And
yes,
I resonate with that, but the expansiveness of how much more there is probably way beyond what I can imagine. So you've been an encouragement.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I learned things I didn't know I needed to learn. And God treated all of us so individually and so different at the Institute. All of the leaders were very different and had wonderful, unique things to offer. The diversity not only in their teaching styles, but in their backgrounds and in their experience. They all taught what they knew and what God poured upon their hearts. And to see these people walk it, not just talk it and teach it, but they walk it in their lives, gave such a richness to the testimony that they were giving throughout their teaching. They didn't just teach, they embodied all of this. And they taught us how to embody it before. And I have to tell you, I used that word twice because I didn't know what it meant. It's a new word for me. And now that I understand it and feel it, I'm excited to use it in just about every sentence. But that's what it was. They embodied everything they were teaching, and you could tell it came from a place that was deep and a place that God created for them to share.
Mm-hmm. So the faculty embodied everything they were teaching, and they lived it, and you could feel that.
Absolutely. There was a deep humility that came with their teaching. There wasn't any hubris. There wasn't some of that academia format that we get. It was all from a humble, dear place in their hearts and a burning desire to help us to know what they knew and to experience God at a whole new level.
Well, we so appreciate you sharing your story and
Thank you.
The things that you gleaned from your time in your cohort with Soul Care Institute. So thank you so much for your time, and have a great day.
Thank you, Jessica.
You've been listening to Soul Care Institute Reflections with Jessie Vangsness. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have questions or would just love to talk to someone, please feel free to contact us by going to our website, soulcareinstitute.com. We hope to hear from you.